to renew or called to beef up migrant processing centers in Italy and Greece at an emergency summit in Brussels on Sunday. The latest bid to tackle Europe's refugee crisis will come when presidents and prime ministers from Europe's north-south migrant corridor meet to discuss new measures to address the crisis. In wide-ranging proposals, Mrs. Merkel is understood to want to fast-track refugees for distribution around Europe, or return home, in a move that is likely to meet resistance from other EU members who accuse her of encouraging refugee demand. The German push comes after recent EU agreements on migrant quotas and the creation of so-called hot spots for processing refugees have largely failed to be implemented, with EU-wide calls for funds and material support going unfulfilled. The crisis meeting, reportedly convened at the insistence of the German Chancellor, comes after a record 56,000 migrants arrived in Greece last week as migrants raced to reach Europe before the onset winter. Jean-Claude Juncker, the European Commission chief, said the talks would focus on urgently needed, short-term measures to address the crisis which has seen Hungary close its border with Croatia, causing refugee bottlenecks across the Balkans. We need more cooperation and a closer agreement between the countries in the region to master the situation, he added. At the same time, Donald Tusk, the European Council president, warned that the refugee crisis was becoming increasingly existential for Europe, and that securing Europe's borders was essential for liberals wanting to face down rising anti-immigrant sentiment. How we solve the migration crisis will be the key to the hearts and minds of our voters, he said in a speech at The Hague. This is the greatest challenge of today. To show that the liberal center can be tough on our external borders, not to become more like the right-wing populists, but to protect Europe against them. Mrs. Merkel is also pushing a multi-billion euro aid deal with Turkey to accommodate more refugees in exchange for visa-free travel for Turkish students and businessmen, and the reopening of negotiations over possible Turkish membership at the EU. Among one plan reportedly being discussed in Berlin will be to move refugees directly from Turkey to Europe in exchange for Ankara agreeing to stop refugees crossing into Europe.